All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. At the city library, Sarah needs to track how many books visitors check out each day. Sarah is busy during the day managing employees and helping customers, so she checks the computer records at closing time to count how many books were borrowed that day. Sarah's method is most closely related to what? So we're looking at Sarah and what she's using to track or measure something. So let's first identify what we're measuring. We know Sarah wants to track or measure how many books visitors check out each day. So how is Sarah going to measure the number of books? Now, immediately when you see how many, we're thinking a count. So maybe frequency, maybe rate. It then says Sarah is busy during the day, managing employees and helping customers. So if we're busy or Sarah is busy during the day, what will be difficult to use as a measurement tool? Continuous measurement is going to be difficult to use because she's busy. She can't continuously measure just how many books visitors are checking out each day if she's doing other things. So there's got to be another way for Sarah to understand the number of books. So at the end of the day, Sarah checks computer records to see the number of books that were borrowed that day. Sarah does not need to watch every book being checked out. She does not need to watch every single customer. All she needs to do at the end of the day is check the computer records. So when we have measurement where we don't actually have to observe behaviors happening and we can go back later and check the outcome, what are we looking at? A, continuous measurement. Well, we talked about why it can't be continuous measurement. If Sarah's busy doing other things, there's no way for her to continuously measure how many books visitors are checking out each day. It's just not going to produce good results. So B, permanent product recording, is much closer to what Sarah is doing. She's looking at the product of the number of books that were checked out each day. She doesn't have to watch every book to be checked out. She can just check the records at the end of the day and still get a pretty good idea of the number of books that were checked out. C, a planned activity check, also known as a play check. This is a type of momentary time sampling in a group. And then D, momentary time sampling, just typical momentary time sampling. Both of these involve intervals where we are looking at the end of the interval and seeing if a behavior happened or not. Sarah is not using interval recording here. She's not looking at the end of an interval. She's looking at that total number of books that were checked out each day without actually watching the books being checked out and instead looking at the product that was produced by the behavior. So Sarah's method is most closely to permanent product recording. During sessions, your client struggles to remain seated for longer than 5 minutes. To help increase time on task, you rearrange the workspace so that the chair is more comfortable, reduce distractions in the environment, and set a timer so the client knows exactly how long they need to stay seated when it is work time. What type of intervention is this? So we have an intervention question, and let's think about what we're trying to accomplish and what we're doing to accomplish that. We know during sessions the client is not remaining seated for longer than 5 minutes. So you want to increase time on task and address this problem. Now, when we're addressing behaviors, we can be proactive and try to prevent behavior from happening, or we can be reactive and respond to behaviors. If we're being proactive and trying to prevent, that's going to be an antecedent strategy because it's before the behavior. If we're being reactive and responding, it's going to be a consequence. So if we're sitting here, rearranging the workspace, making chairs more comfortable, reducing distractions, and giving a timer when it's work time, are we being proactive or are we reacting when the client starts to get off task or leave their seat? Well, here we are being proactive. We're trying to make the chair more comfortable. We're trying to make the environment less distracting. We're setting timers. We're giving all these antecedent ideas before the behavior can occur. Now, if the behavior occurs, we're going to have consequence strategies ready. But since we're being proactive and trying to prevent it from occurring, we're doing antecedent interventions. The consequence interventions, like we just talked about, are when we react. And that's going to be, are we giving reinforcement? Are we punishing? Are we putting on extinction? So both B and C, we're talking consequences. Rearranging the workspace, making a comfortable chair, setting timers, reducing distractions. All these are preventative. We're being proactive. And then D, naturalistic. This is not naturalistic. We're not using the naturally occurring behavior or situation. We're being very systematic here, right? We're arranging things in a way to prevent the behavior from happening. So the type of intervention we have here is an antecedent intervention. Following a direct assessment, which included event recording, your supervisor determines that you're going to target running away from adults. The supervisor now wants you to assist in an assessment that involves providing attention when the client runs away in one condition, and then providing a tangible when the client runs away in another condition. This most resembles what? Now, this is kind of an interesting assessment, right? And this is an assessment that you as an RBT will never do on your own, but is one that you may help your supervisor with. And what do we know so far? We know we've done a direct assessment already, which included event recording. So it seems we've done at least a part of the functional behavior assessment and picked a target behavior, right? Running away from adults. Now, of course, we want to know why. Okay. We always have to figure out, well, why is the behavior happening? We can pick any behavior we want in the world to target, but if we don't know why it's happening, then it's going to be hard to change. So the supervisor is telling you they actually want you to give attention when the client runs away, or they actually want to give a tangible when the client runs away. In what situation would we intentionally try to reinforce the target behavior? Well, the analysis or assessment where we are trying to intentionally reinforce the behavior is called a functional analysis. This is when we are actively manipulating antecedents and consequences and trying to determine why the behavior is happening. The idea is if the client runs away and we provide attention and the behavior continues, or maybe stops, or the attention affects it in some way, we can then reasonably say, well, the attention is the function. And that's the whole idea behind the functional analyses. Very rarely are we going to intentionally reinforce anything except if we're doing a functional analysis, which involves manipulation of antecedents and consequences. Always read the rest of your answer choices. An indirect assessment involves interviews and surveys, not actually seeing the client do the behavior. In this case, this is a very direct assessment. C, a preference assessment, and D, a reinforcer assessment. We're not assessing stimuli here. We're not assessing preferences. We're not assessing stimuli as reinforcers. We're actually trying to determine the function. And so when we're trying to determine the function through actual manipulation of consequences, that is a functional analysis. Your client frequently kicks the table during non-play activities. You're told to implement a strategy where she earns a sticker for every 2-minute interval she does not kick the table. After earning 5 stickers, she chooses a prize. This approach is known as what? Now, we have a differential reinforcement question. And when you have differential reinforcement questions, first thing you ask yourself, am I teaching a replacement behavior? If you're teaching a replacement, it's either got to be alternative or incompatible. If you're not teaching a replacement, then it's most likely going to be other. Now, in this case, the client's kicking the table, and you are giving a sticker every 2 minutes she does not kick the table. Now, what differential reinforcement do we provide reinforcement for a behavior not occurring? Well, that's going to be our DRO. The differential reinforcement of other behaviors, we provide reinforcement when a behavior doesn't occur. And we're not teaching a replacement. So no matter what she's doing, if she's not kicking the table, she is getting a sticker. In both the alternative and incompatible differential reinforcement strategies, we are teaching a replacement and providing reinforcement when the replacement occurs. With the DRO, there is no replacement. We're just providing reinforcement when the behavior doesn't occur. Tom has learned to greet you appropriately during sessions. One day at the park, you notice Tom approaching a peer and independently saying hi without any prompting. This scenario demonstrates what? I'm going to end on an easy one. That's great. Sometimes on your exam, you might get an easy question. Don't overthink it. Trust your preparation, answer it, and move on. The worst thing you can think is, this one seems too easy. Let me sit here and think too much about it. If you're prepared, a lot of them will be easy. Now, in this case, Tom learned to greet you appropriately. Okay, so we taught Tom how to do this. And then at the park, Tom approached a peer and said hi without prompting. So we've gone from the teaching environment to Tom naturally going up to a peer and saying hi. What does that demonstrate? A, shaping. Well, the scenario doesn't demonstrate shaping. You might have taught Tom through shaping, but this is not shaping. Tom is generalizing. Very clear, very easy generalization question. Tom has generalized hi to this peer. Now, has he done response generalization? Well, he said hi. We have this single response. We don't know what response you taught him. So we can't for sure say it was response generalization. Because if you taught Tom hi, and then he saw a peer and said hi, he didn't actually generalize the response. So we don't know enough to say response generalization, but we do know enough to say generalization. And then differential reinforcement is like shaping. We're not sure how you taught Tom. We just know you did, and that he generalized it to a peer. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We really appreciate it. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.